Okay, so we're going to learn a Hasidic discourse by the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, Rebbe Rashab, Shalom-B'nei. This is year 1910. This discourse is longer than what we're used to learn, but it's actually a short one. The Rebbe Rashab used to say very long discourses and sometimes very deep. And this particular discourse, even though it's not so deep, has many concepts that each one of those concepts has to be explained in itself. And it touches so many ideas that I'm not going to explain all the ideas because it would take like 100 classes when it's not the idea. But some of the ideas, yes, need to be explained. He's going to touch upon certain ideas of Kabbalah, like Jewish mysticism, whatever. I'll explain whatever we need to understand what he's talking about. And don't think I'm not explaining because I don't want to tell you. No. All these things like have so many explanations and so many details, etc. So I'll explain whatever I know, whatever I can understand, because I don't know everything also. So whatever is needed for the understanding of the discourse, I'll explain. Sometimes are going to be like difficult concepts, and most of the times not. Why are we learning this discourse? Because there's a huge chidush, like novelty in this discourse, that actually it doesn't really belong to the Rebbe Rashab, it belongs to his father. This discourse is based on discourses that his father, Rebbe Maharash, the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, Shmuel, that was his name, he has his own set of discourses that are really longer than this. The Rebbe Rashab over here is like really compacting so many ideas that his father said in much longer ways. So he's compacting everything together and putting it into a small box and giving it to us. But the main point of this discourse is to explain the difference between avoida, what the humankind has to work before eating of the fruit he was not supposed to eat, and afterwards. In other words, before, when he was in Gan Eden, in paradise, and afterwards when he was kicked out of paradise. So what's the difference between the work that he was expected to do in paradise, Gan Eden, and the work he actually has to do outside? Right now, we are outside, that's the truth. We're waiting for Mashiach, but right now, we are outside. So what are we supposed to do over here? And what's the difference on the work he was supposed to do when he was in Gan Eden, in paradise? That's like the main point of the Maimar. Within that point, the Rebbe Rashab brings something that is not so commonly found, not easy to see these ideas anywhere, actually, outside of this discourse and outside of the discourses of his father, the Rebbe Maharash, upon which this discourse is based on. And the idea is birurim. Birurim means in Hebrew, levarer means to refine. That's what it means, to refine. Birurim means a whole huge idea in Jewish mysticism that we are supposed as human beings to refine the world. God created the world. He put us over here. We're like something like his associates, whatever, his partners in his creation. And we're supposed to reveal him in this creation. Okay, that's called refinement. By using the world to serve God, like I'm using a chair to sit here and teach Torah, so I'm using the word to teach, I'm using his word to reveal him. That refines the chair. Like the chair where I'm sitting right now, it's a like refined chair because it was used, a conduit to use to reveal God, whatever, etc., etc. This concept is very famous, a very, so to speak, simple. Okay, go use the world. But in, I would say, 99.99% of the teachings, this concept only applies to Jews. However, in this discourse, the Rebbe Rashab says it also applies to non-Jews. And it's a chidush, it's like a novelty. It's not something common to find. And again, it's not an idea that the Rebbe Rashab came up with. It's found even more clearer in the previous discourses. So you may ask, so why don't we learn the base of this discourse? Because it's too long, It touches upon too many concepts. And like when you're trying to find a pearl on the sand, you have so much sand, you miss the pearl. So let's learn this one, and we're going to be able to find the pearl and see it. That's why we're learning this discourse. This discourse is based on one verse of Eicha, Lamentations, that we usually read in Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is the day of the destruction of the first temple, the second temple. So many bad things happened that day. We read Eicha, which was actually written by Yirmiyahu Hanavi, prophet Yirmiyahu Hanavi, lamenting and crying for the destruction of Yerushalayim, the first temple and Yerushalayim. This text starts with these words, Eicha Yashva Vadad Ha'ir Rabasi'am. Actually, the custom in Tisha B'Av is to read it like in a crying melody. Eicha Yashva Vadad Ha'ir Rabasi'am Haisa Ki Almana. That's how we will read it in that night. So what does it mean, the text? Eicha is like how, something like that. How she was sitting alone, the city that had so many people on it, and now it's sitting alone. Nobody's over there, it's destroyed, etc., etc. That's the whole text. That's the beginning of the migrant. We have to understand, Mahu inyan badad gaveir. What does it mean that a city is alone? What are you talking about? People can be alone, but a city is not alone. It's a city. This idea of being alone, it's only found in human beings. He's alone or he's not alone, but not in cities. He brings a proof to what he's saying, that a person is sitting alone. Okay, so you see, a person can sit alone, but not a city. What is he talking about? Also, we have to understand, what's the question actually? How is she sitting alone? What question do you have? Is it not like simple? When somebody wins a war, the city, it's without people. I'm sorry, everybody was killed. So what's your question? Like, there's a city, was conquered, all the Jews were killed, and that's it. Nobody else is over there. So what's your question? Oh, nobody's in the city. Yeah, of course. You lost the war. What's the question? Now, the Medrash Rabbah, the Pischasa, the Eicha Isa, this discourse is so mixed with Aramaic and Hebrew. It's all kinds of, all the time, back and forth, Aramaic and Hebrew. In the Midrash, where it's talking about Eicha, these Lamentations books, it says over there like this: Ilu zechisem ha'isem korim Eicha esa levadi. If you would have been meritorious, like the Babylonians would not have conquered Yerushalayim, and you would be reading in this night, like the 9th of Av, you would be reading Eicha esa levadi. This is a verse that Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, I cannot deal with these people alone. I need help. Don't put me a judge over all these 600,000 people. I can't. I need help. So this is what he's saying. Eicha esa levadi. How can I just deal with everybody else? I can't. I need help. This is what Moshe is telling Hashem. So the Midrash is saying, if we would have been meritorious, we wouldn't be reading a lamentation. Oh, how the city was destroyed. We would be reading what Moshe said. The same word, starts with the same words. Eicha, how. But the content, so to speak, of the verse is different. Not how this city is alone because everybody was killed. Rather, how can I deal with these people just by myself? Yes, but not talking about dead people and you lost the war and I was conquered. No. It's just saying, look, I need help. I need help to deal with these people, to judge these people. I can't do it alone. But it's not like bad. Ve'achshav, continues the Midrash, now, sheloi zechisem, you were not meritorious. Of course, Yerushalayim was destroyed. Atem koirim eicha yashva. Now you're reading, says God, so to speak, how is she sitting alone and destroyed, etc., etc. This is what the Midrash is saying. Bal pasuk eicha yashva amar ganken, and on this other verse, the Midrash says also, Moshe ra oisam v'shalvasam. Another explanation that the Midrash brings. Moshe saw the Jewish people sitting in the land of Israel peacefully. Omar Eicha Esachule. And he said, how can I deal with these people just by myself? This is what the Midrash is saying. We have to understand what's the good part of this. Like similar to what you're asking. Okay, the Midrash is assuming that Moshe Rabbeinu is saying something nice. Whatever it is, we don't understand what he's saying, but he's saying something nice. Something that brings merit to the Jewish people. When the Jewish people were sitting in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, peacefully, Moshe said, oh, what a nice thing. How can I deal with these people alone? We don't understand what Moshe is saying. What does it mean? And also, if you were meritorious, you would be saying this verse. What's the merit in saying this verse? I don't understand. I don't understand the Midrash. So the Rabbi is asking on the Midrash. Now, there's another Midrash in the same place. It says like this. This is why it's written, they, like the first man, the Jewish people, like the first man, they transgress the covenant. The Midrash says, like the first man, when he was born. I mean, the verse literally should be translated not like the first man. The verse should be translated like a man. We, regular people, sometimes behave nice, and sometimes, we don't behave so nice. So the verse is saying, you're like a human being. God is saying, you're like a human being. Sometimes good, sometimes so bad. But the Midrash says, no, when the verse says Adam, he's not referring to a regular human being. He's referring to the first human being. He did not keep the covenant with God. You, like his children, also don't keep. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Midrash says God, Adam Arishon, Chulei, etc., Ichnastiv leGan Eden, the first man, I put it into the paradise, Gan Eden. Sheneemar, as it's written, Vayikach Hashem Elokim es Adam, Vayenicheu Bagan, Gan Eden. God took man and he put it in Gan Eden. Very nice. V'tzivisiv, and God continues like speaking. And I gave him commandments, like the verse says, Vayitzav ala Adam, God commanded on the man, do this, don't do that, etc. Ve'ovar al tzivuyai, and the man, the first man, transgressed my commandments. What was the particular commandment that he transgressed? Like God says, Hamina eitz asher tzivisicha chulei. Did you eat from the tree that I told you not to eat? Yes, he did. So he transgressed. Vedantiv begirushin. The Midrash continues. The Rabbi is not quoting the whole Midrash, just the parts that he wants to comment on. I, says God, judged him by kicking him out of Gan Eden. That's it. Get out of here. Vaygaresh Adam, like the verse says, that God kicked out man from Gan Eden. That's one judgment, kicking him out. Uveshiluchin, there's another judgment more, another more problem, so to speak. God says, I also sent him out. It's not the same thing. I can kick you out of this place, and you can be waiting by my door. You're not in my home. I kicked you out of my home, but you're over there waiting. Not only that. I kicked you out of my home, and I sent you as far as I can. Get out of here. Really go far from here. I don't want to see your face. So that it's two punishments, so to speak. Punishment number one, Geirushin. I kicked you out of here. Punishment number two, Shiluching. I sent you out. Far. Like the verse says, Vaishalcheyu lavoid. God sent man to work on the land, on the earth. Continues the Midrash. Vekoinenanti alav eicha. And I, says God, I started crying upon this man. Eicha, where is he? Like, what did I do? Why did I do this? Like God says to man, Vayomer loi ayeka. God says to man, where are you? Ayeka. Now this part in the Midrash is very nice, but difficult to understand if you don't really follow the psukim, the verses. When man ate from the tree, from the fruit of the tree, whatever, God didn't tell him directly, hey, you ate from the tree, I know that. No. He first asked him, Ayeka, where are you? Hello? Are you over there? And man said, oh, I saw you coming in and I covered myself, So the way it's written, Ayeka means, where are you? but it's written exactly the same with the same letters as Eicha. It's written the same. So the regular reading of the verse is God is asking man, Ayeka, where are you? But the Midrash is saying after all that man did, that he was not supposed to do, and God said, I'm going to kick you out of here, I'm going to send you really far from here. After that, God started crying and said, Eicha, where are you? Like, what happened to you? Why did you do this? Instead of reading Ayeka, where are you? Like a question with a finger, where are you? What are you doing? No. God is crying, saying, Eicha. Why? The Midrash is not keeping here chronological order. No, not at all. Because God, first of all, asked Ayeka, where are you? And the man started saying, whatever excuses. And God said, okay, to me, you can't put excuses. I know everything. So now you're kicked out and you're sent out and blah, blah, blah. The Midrash is putting this in a different order. The Midrash is saying, I kicked you out, I sent you really far, and then I started asking, Eicha, how can it be? So the verses don't fit the Midrash. But this is something that the Midrash can do. Like in this level of interpretation, that's fine. You can do that. Not in Pshat. In the literal meaning, no, this is wrong. It's all wrong. It's out of order. But the Midrash can do this. It's fine. It's fine. The novelty of the Midrash, the Chidush over here is that God said Eicha, not Ayeka. Don't read Ayeka. Read Eicha. Don't read where are you? Read Oivei. Why? This is what the Midrash says. Upirush Matnes Keuna. Matnes Keuna, it's a commentary on the Midrash. He explains on these parts of the Midrash that we brought, the reason why the Midrash is like playing, so to speak, quote unquote, with the words, is because it's written in a very specific way. It should have been written in a komatz. Komatz is like a sign of reading the Torah. It's not written like that, so the Midrash is like starting playing with the letters, with the words. That's what the Madness Kevuna brings. Point. This is what the Midrash says about the first man. All of this was actually trying to explain one verse that the Rebbe brought, that Midrash brings, Heima ke Adam avru bris. They, the human beings, like men, transgressed a covenant. So we just explained that the first man transgressed the covenant. I told you not to eat, you ate, I kicked you out or sent you far, and then I started crying. The same thing, the Midrash continues, Af banav, same things happened with the children. Ichnastim la'aretz, says God, I brought them into the land of Israel. Shneimar, as it's written, Va'avi eschem el eretz HaKarmel, I brought you to the land of Carmel, whatever, a nice land. Vetzivisim, and I gave them many commandments. Tzaves-B'nei Israel, go tell the Jewish people to do this, to do that, not to do this, not to do that, etc. 613 mitzvahs. I gave them mitzvahs, I gave them commandments. Ve'ovru al tzivuyai, and they transgressed my commandments. Shneimar, as it's written, V'chol Yisrael avru es Torasecha. All the Jewish people, they transgressed your Torah. And the Midrash continues. Vedantim gerushin, I judged them, says God, with gerushin, kicked them out of Eretz Israel. Shenemar mi beis yagar Hashem, as it's written, from my house, says God, I will kick them out. I will kick them out. Get out of here. Uveshiluchin, and the second punishment exactly the same as the first man. I sent them far. Shenemar shalach me'al panai veyetzeyu. Sent them out of my face, and they went out. That's it. And just as with the first man, Kainanti aleim eicha, I also started crying, says God. Eicha, why? Why did you do this? Eicha yesh bavadat. And that's the explanation of the verse of Lamentations. Now she's sitting alone. So the Midrash, what did they do? What did the Midrash do? The Midrash compared first man with the Jewish people. First man did all kinds of wrong things. Jewish people did all kinds of wrong things, and they were judged the same and punished in the same way. Exactly the same. And everything is like connected to this like magic word, Eicha. How? Why? Something like that. Harei. So now we have Medamme Churban Beis Hamikdash lechet etzadas. The Midrash is clearly comparing the destruction of the first temple, whatever, with the sin of the eating of the fruit of the tree, whatever, etc. The Midrash is clearly comparing this. Just like the first man, before the sin, he was in Gan Eden, he was in paradise. And through the sin, he was judged in two ways. Again, kicked him out, and sent him out, etc. Kach B'nei Israel. The same thing happens with the Jewish people. Ichnastim le'eretz Israel. I put them into the land of Israel. Hakavana, the idea of this quote-unquote land of Israel, Binyan Beis Hamikdash, the construction of the temple. Like, so to speak, I built a temple for them, not that God built it, but whatever, the idea. I put them into the temple, Shebedugmas Gan Eden, because the temple is just like the paradise, just like Gan Eden. He's going to talk about this later. So, Akavan al-Binyan Beis Hamikdash, so the idea is, this Gan Eden, not the whole land of Israel would be like Gan Eden, rather the Beis Hamikdash temple. Shebedugmas Gan Eden, which is the same thing as the paradise. And I gave them mitzvahs, I gave them commandments. Shesham iye ha'avoda the Torah mitzvahs, that they should do there, either in the whole land of Israel or the Beis Hamikdash, for the case it's the same, the whole work of studying Torah and fulfilling commandments. And afterwards I judged them by kicking them out, etc. So it's a clear comparison here, or comparison over here, between the first man and the Jewish people. This is like chapter 1. So we brought these ideas from the Midrash, and we have this crying, so to speak, of God, like, why did you behave like this? Just like the first man. You're the same thing. Now we have to understand, why is this comparing? Why is God comparing the Jewish people with the first man? Why is this? What's the point of comparing them? It is like this. Now, this is very common in Hasidic discourses also. We're talking about something, and suddenly we're going to change subjects, we're going to go somewhere else, and then we're going to go back. There's another verse over here. This verse is in Shir Hashirim, in Song of Songs. The verse says like this: Al tireuni, don't look at me. She'ani shecharchoires. She is saying, like to the man, don't look at me, because I'm like black, all black. Not black from birth, like I was all burnt. I'm all black. Why are you like this? She says, Aftani Hashemesh, because the sun burnt me. So much sun, I was sitting in the beach, whatever, I'm all burnt out. So don't look at me, I'm not so nice. I'm all burnt out. This is what the verse says. Ve'isa bezoyar parshas Tazria, and the Zohar brings on this verse, Mai shecharchoires. What does that mean that she's all burnt out, all like black? Shachor in Hebrew means black. What is this word? It's like a weird word. Shecharchoires is a weird word. It should have been written, the Zohar says, it should have been written Shachrus. I'm like black. Okay, I'm black. So what's the problem? No problem. But Shecharchoires is like too many letters to say something that you would say with less letters. Why is it written like that? Ella, like that. Ella, so the Zohar answers. Train kadrusa. There are two types of black. It's not the same. Not everything is the same. There are two types. So that's why the word has like repeated letters. Shecharchoires, like as if it was saying twice, I'm black, I'm black. Why are you saying the same thing twice? Because there are two types of blackness, whatever. The Zohar explains. Chad, the istalek mine shimsha milenahara bi. One of the types of being dark, so to speak, is that the sun went out of me. Like the sun is not illuminating upon me. That's what it means. The istalek, it removed mine shimsha, from me, the sun, mi lehanara, from illuminating bi, from illuminating me. And from watching me. Like the sun went out. When the sun goes down, so the world is like dark. That's one type of darkness. Sun went down, there's no light. What can I do? V'chad, the second type, the b'nei imi nicharu bi. The children of my mother, they are angry at me. That's another type of darkness. It's not the same thing. Like you can be dark because there's no light and I don't see you, so you're dark. Or you can be actually black. So that's why you're dark, because you're black. You weren't burnt or whatever the case is, but that's why you're dark, because you're black. So the question is, are you like essentially black, dark, or you're dark because I can't see you? It's not the same. Two types of darkness. It could be that you're not dark, but I can't see you. Or it could be that you're really dark. That's what the pasuk, that the verse is saying, and that's why the word is written like weird. Shechar choires. Two types of darkness. Upirash Mikdash Melech. Mikdash Melech it's a commentary on the Zohar. He explains the Istalek mini Shimsha. What does that mean that the sun went out? What are you talking about? The Vechinas Zeir Anikra Shemesh Avaye. I'll explain this in a minute. Einem Meir Bemalchus. Does not illuminate in a different level that's called Malchus. What is it talking about? Okay, let's make a stop over here and a small explanation of what this means. In Kabbalah, there are many words, like keywords, that explain or express different levels. And all these levels, they like combine with each other and they get together with each other, and certain results come out of this union between these levels. The first level that the Rabbi is quoting here is called Zeir. Zeir literally means small in Aramaic. That's what it means. And it's called also Shemesh, the sun, which is not zero connection, has nothing to do with the sun itself. No, we're not talking about the sun. We're talking about something that gives. Just as the sun gives light, this level called Zeir Anpin, small faces, over here is only called Zeir, but it's referring to that, like saving words. Why should I write the whole thing? You should know it. And if you don't know it, don't read this text. Zeir, again, refers to an aspect of God as a giver. Like the sun gives light, Zeir gives, so to speak. That doesn't mean at all that there is something besides God that gives. No. This is an expression of God. God as a giver. Every single person in the world sometimes gives and sometimes receives. When you're talking, you're giving. When you shut up and somebody else is talking, so you're receiving. No problem. So there's an aspect of God as a giver. This aspect in Kabbalah is called Zeir Anpin. That's what it's called. Actually, Zeir Anpin, if you go a little bit deeper, it's actually what is called in Kabbalah a partzuf. What does that mean, a partzuf? This is like an Aramaic word also. Partzuf literally means a face. Faces, that's full of faces, in all kinds of faces in Kabbalah. Faces means also a group of expressions of God where certain parts of that group become important. For instance, when you're talking about Zeir Anpin, you're actually talking about a whole complete configuration of all the spheroids of the emanations, or whatever you want to call them, the expressions of God, but certain ones are more important than others. And when you talk about Malchus, the second level, I'll explain in a minute also what this means, you're talking about a whole configuration of the 10 spheroids, the 10 emanations of whatever they mean, whatever. However, there's one of them that is more important. And this is exactly as the example that I gave before. Like, I'm a man. Okay, so I give, so to speak. I'm talking. Okay, but that doesn't mean that I'm not able to receive. That right now that I'm talking, there's an expression of me, of a giver. I'm a complete giver. I'm going to talk and I'm going to continue talking, etc., etc. But at the same time, I can shut up and listen, and automatically, like in seconds, in nanoseconds, I became a receiver. I'm not a giver anymore. But it's the same me. It's just me. Sometimes I give, sometimes I receive. This is exactly the same. It's not that there's a part of me that gives, there's a part of me that receives. No. It's just me. It's the whole me. Sometimes I give, sometimes I receive. This is the relationship between Zeir Anpin and Malchus. Also, one more detail. Usually, Zein Ampin is called the sun that gives, and Malchus, which translates to kingship, is called the moon that receives. We see this very simple example that the Kabbalah brings. We see this exactly with this light of the sun and the light of the moon. There's no light that the moon gives by itself. The moon just gives the light that receives from the sun, just shows the light in a different way, doesn't have its own light. So this is exactly what the sun represents, a giver, and what the moon represents, a receiver. And afterwards, like shows the light in a different way. The same thing happens, like the Talmud is full of these ideas that seem so simple and actually are talking about very deep things. The Talmud asks, when a man, now the difference between men and women, when a man brings grains, how do you call it? Wheat. When a man brings wheat home after a whole day of work and he was in the field and he worked and he brought the wheat home, does he eat wheat? Nah. He gives it to the women and she grinds it and she prepares the bread and he is happy with the bread. So this is the relationship between men and women. He brings, but she takes whatever he brought and transforms it into something nice. Oh, you can eat bread, you can't eat wheat just like that. It's hard and whatever. So the same thing happens with the sun and the moon. The sun gives and the moon receives and shows the light in a different way. The same exact things happens with Zein Ampin and Malchus. These are partsufim, like faces, quote unquote, expressions of God as a giver or as a receiver. Now, having said all of this, another detail, and then we're going to understand what the Rabbi is talking about. One more detail. Words, usually, this is an example. The Rabbi is not going to talk about words, but the example is going to be clear, I hope. Words are called stones. In Kabbalah, in Sefer Yetzirah, words are called stones. Why? Because the word itself doesn't really create anything and has anything nice to it. Rather, there's a concept inside that word, and that's what's really valuable. The concept, the idea. Actually, the same idea you can express in different words. I talk in one way, and a different rabbi talks in a different way. And maybe we're saying the same thing, but you like this one and you don't like that one. Why? Because the concept is the same, but the words can change. The words are not the main thing of the concept, rather the concept. Okay, same thing happens with Zein Ampin and Malchus. When we say that the sun, like in classical Kabbalah wordings, when you say that the sun shines upon the moon, oh, what a nice thing. What is he talking about? He's saying that God is giving and revealing himself into the world. The world is like the words, so to speak, of God, and we don't see nothing else but stones, the world itself. We don't see God. However, if the sun is shining upon the moon, oh, now we can perceive God within the world. That's the best situation, so to speak. And in Kabbalah language, is Zein Ampin shines in Malchus, or the sun is shining in the moon. The words are not like lost words. They have a concept inside of them. One example that is given in Hasidus is, you take the word Baruch. Baruch means blessed. Blessed be the Lord, etc., etc. You can take exactly the same letters and you play with the letters and you change the order of the letters, and what did you lose? You lost the concept. Now these letters are not transmitting any specific concept. It's just letters over there. When you put the words in the letters, in the proper order, oh, now you say God is blessed, he's the source of blessing. Oh, very nice. But the only thing that changed is just the order of the letters. From carrying an idea or not carrying an idea. Same thing happens with the world. The world is, so to speak, created by this level called Malchus. When these words, letters, quote unquote, are out of order, you see a world, but you don't see God. If the letters become in the proper order, now you see the world and God. You see the word Baruch with the letters, and they carry a concept. Oh, God is the source of blessing. Now let's go back to the Maimon. The Rebbe said that there are two types of darkness. One darkness is because the sun, is not shining upon me, so to speak. And the second type of darkness is God is angry at me. Not just that I did something wrong, I'm so to speak burnt. And the Mikdash Melech, again, the second line of this page, this commentary explains. Istalik mini shimsha. What does that mean that the sun went out? What is the Zohar talking about? Oh, I'll explain to you in Kabbalah words. This level called Zeir, small, whatever Zeirampin, which is also called the Son of God. This is paraphrasing a verse in Tehillim, in Psalms. Eina Meir b'Malchus, is not shining in this other level called Malchus. Like the sun is not shining upon the moon. No. And what does that mean? In practical letters, this means that when Jewish people is in exile, God removed himself up, really far. We don't see God. This is what Golus means. This is what exile actually means. You could be in front of the Koitzel Amaravi, the Western wall. You could be on top of it. You could be on that, and you're still in Golus. In Yerushalayim, you're in Golus. Why? Because Golus means God is hidden. This is the definition of Golus. And this is what happens. Also, the sun is not shining, quote unquote. Sun is not shining on the moon. What does that mean? Okay, you're in Golus. That's what it means. Like the letters became out of order and they lost the concept. I see the letters of the word Boruch, Beis, Reish, Vav, Chav. I don't see the idea behind it. I don't understand it. Because they are out of order, so I can't read it. I don't know what it's talking about. But the letters are over there. It's just, I don't see what they're talking about. This is what it means, what the Mikdash Melech is saying, explaining what the Zohar is saying. V'al zeksiv, on this is written, V'haisoki almana. This is a continuation of the first verse that actually opens this discourse. Haisoki almana. Yerushalayim is like a widow. Keisha she'alach baila lemedina sayam. Like a woman that her husband went very far. Medina Sayam literally means like the land on the sea, like some very far country. She's not really almana, she's not really widow, because you can't say that the Jewish people is a widow, because God is a man. Did he die? No. But you can say clearly that the husband just went very far. We don't know where he is. This is what Golus means. And this is what it means, that we are like widows. Medina Sayam, what does that mean, a very far country? Okay, God went, quote unquote, to a very far country. Where did he go? What are you talking about? He's the whole world. Where did he go? No. It doesn't mean that he actually went somewhere. It means Alma Discassia, a hidden world. Whatever that means, doesn't really matter now. It means we cannot understand him, we cannot find him, we cannot see him, we don't feel him, etc. This is what it means. And the fact that the husband of this widow, when the so-called widow, whatever, she's not really a widow because the husband is alive, but the husband went to a very far country. It means, like the Torah itself says, there's going to come, in Parashat Vayelech, there's going to come one day that I'm going to hide my face from you, says God. Okay? So God is hidden. That's what it means. And in Kabbalah words, siluk dezo, vevina vechochma, etc. Which it really doesn't matter what it means, but God removed Zeir Ampin into Bina, understanding, and into Chochma, into wisdom, etc. This really doesn't matter what it really means. It just means Zo usually is connected to emotions. Chochma, Bina and Chochma are intellectual expressions. So what this means is, what is Golus? Golus means like when a person has no emotions. He can't feel anything. It doesn't mean that he doesn't understand. He understands, but he can't feel. This is Golus. Because we would like to feel God, and we don't. Penimtza Mefarish Kan comes out that we're saying regarding this verse, Mashikosu Shezesafsani Hashemesh, that the sun burnt me. Let's go back to Shir Hashirim, Song of Songs. She's saying, don't look at me because the sun burnt me. Not the same way that you explain in many places. No. Usually you explain, why is she, in Shir Hashirim, in the Song of Songs, why is she dark? Because there's such a strong light of the sun, she became dark. She got burnt. That's what you usually say. So the sun is really shining upon you and you got dark. No, we're not saying the same thing over here. Why is she dark? Because the sun burned her. No. Not that she's really dark. She's not dark, but the sun burned her. No. This is how you usually explain. Vekan, here, Mefarish, the Zohar is explaining differently. The reason why she's dark is because there's no revelation. There's no sun shining upon her, so nobody can see her. It's dark. Outside is dark. So that's why she says, I'm dark. Not because she's really dark. She's not. But nobody can see her. The Siyara lays lami garmaklum. The moon, like I explained before, doesn't have anything of it herself. It just reflects the sun, the light of the sun. And because the sun got removed from her, from him, whatever, the Jewish people, now she is dark because the sun went out. So what the Rebbe is trying to explain is, look, there are two ways of understanding why in Shir Hashirim, in the Song of Songs, she's saying I'm dark, and she's saying it in a very weird way, like double darkness. Why? Because there are two levels of darkness, and the level of darkness we're talking about here is not that she's really dark. She's not dark. She's probably white, but doesn't matter because there's no light, therefore she's dark. Lefizeh, according to this, we have to understand why is she saying, don't look at me? Wait a second, what's the problem with you? You're fine, you're nice, and you're saying, don't look at me. Why not? What's the problem? It's not your fault that the sun is not shining. And you're not burnt out. You're okay. But anyway, you're saying, don't look at me. Why? We have to say, you have to say, like our sages say in Pirkei Avos, in the Ethics of Our Fathers, don't make an effort to go see your enemy when he's really in a wrong situation, in a bad situation. It's not right. Even if he's your enemy, don't go look at him. You see, now you're in the mud. No. It's not nice. Don't do that. That's what she's saying. Don't look at me. Look, okay, I understand. I'm fine. I'm not burnt out. But in any case, I'm not in a good situation right now because the sun is not shining on me. So don't look at me. I don't like it. Not now. No. The same way, when this level called Zeir Ampin, Zoh, whatever, it removes Oimeres Bechinas Malchus, this other level of Malchus, like the words and the moon, etc., she says, Knesses Yisrael de Leila, that means the Jewish people, the spiritual Jewish people, Al Tireuni, don't look at me. That's what she's saying, like the souls of the Jewish people, whatever, the source of the souls, is saying, don't look at me, because right now the sun is not shining upon me, you're not going to see anything nice. Not because I'm not nice, you can't see me. This is exactly the opposite of a different verse in Shir Hashirim. The verse says, go out and watch her, the daughters of Zion. Go watch them. It's saying the opposite thing. Here you're saying, don't look at me. And here you're saying, go out and look at me. Why? This other verse refers to the moment that Malchus, this level of spiritual Jewish people, whatever, it goes up. And she mekabelet mizo, and now the sun is shining upon her, and she's saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm nice, I'm fine." It's like two different times, two different situations. It's not a contradiction of verses. Now she's saying, "Don't look at me." Now she's saying, "Look at me." Wait a second. It's two different times, two different situations. To the point not only that the moon receives from the sun, to the point that the moon becomes like a crown upon the sun. This is what it means that when the Jewish people got married to God in the giving of the Torah, the Jewish people became like a crown. God crowned himself in the Jewish people. Okay, this is like a different level. He's just like, this is very common in Hasidus also. There are some questions that are not even mentioned, and just the answer is given. So he's given the answer to a question. Hey, I found a different verse where it says, "Go out and look at me." It's a different thing. Don't ask me this question because it's talking about something else. It's not talking about this. When the light goes away, she says, "Don't look at me," because there's no light. Through this, that the sun is not shining upon the moon, and etc., etc., Zoe is not shining upon Malchus, there's a descent in Malchus. What's the descent? She becomes invested in 70 ministers. That those ministers are actually the angels that govern each nation. Like it says, when the Jewish people went to exile in Babylon, God's presence went also over there. So the God's presence became invested into that level of Babylon, whatever the case is. This is the second darkness. Like the verse says, the children of my mother, my brothers, they're angry at me. What does that mean? Who are the brothers? B'nei imi and ayin sarim. The brothers of her, like her, she's the Jewish people. Who are the brothers? The brothers are the 70 ministers, these 70 angels. This means the expression, the children of God. And what does that mean that they got angry at me? Zohar explains, this is similar to the idea of my throat is like, nechar is like dry, and I can't talk because I don't feel my throat proper. And this is the same idea of a different verse, like a sheep, like a sheep from in front of those who are going to cut the hair of the sheep. She is quiet. She's not saying anything. Like the sheep don't complain. She just lays down and people cut whatever the hair. But the point over here is the silence. What does that mean that the brothers got angry at her? Like she's silent. This means, in other words, when the koil literally means like voice, but it's not talking about the voice of a person. It's talking like the content of what you're saying does not illuminate the words as a dibur behelem. Therefore, automatically there are no words. Like, imagine a person that has nothing to say. He can't think of something to say, he's silent. Maybe he's a very, very wise person or whatever, but right now, I don't know what to say. So he's silent. What does that mean? That his intellect is not shining upon his words. So he doesn't know what to say. And when this happens, then the impurity, so to speak, gets energy from there. Like when a wise person has nothing to say, so people are saying, maybe this guy is not so wise. People say this guy is wise, but look, he's quiet, so he doesn't have anything to say. Maybe he's not so wise. This is the same. Also, this is also the same idea of she, the Jewish people, Yerushalayim, etc. She is like a widow. Almana is not just widow. Lashon Ilaim. It means also she can't talk. she can't talk. Ne'elamo hanal, she's silent, like we explained. She's silent. Vezeu, let's finish the paragraph because otherwise it's going to be difficult afterwards to go back to it. Vezeu shemeda mechurban beis hamikdash lechetes hadas. That's why the Midrash is comparing the destruction of the temple to the sin of eating from the fruit, etc. What's the comparison? The Adam Arishon himshich b'chinas zun. Zun means zo nukva. It's a way of saying Zeirampin and Malchus, two ideas. Adam Arishon, the first man, he projected into the world these two levels that are called Zo and Malchus, like the content and the words. As it's written, there was no man to work the earth, and that's why it didn't rain. That's what it says in the beginning of the creation. Like the Zohar says, through the fact that the man ate from a fruit that he didn't have to eat, this level of Zo went away. That's it. He went up. And automatically, the other level of Malchus, it just went down. It's as if, it's not the same. It's just an idea to understand a concept. So never, when a person learns Kabbalah, also Hasidus, you can't like materialize the ideas. No way. It's just examples to talk about something that is completely abstract. So if you have a person that is holding somebody that is falling, and you're holding that person is not falling because you're holding. As soon as you let go, forget it. The other one falls. You go up, and the other one goes down. So the same thing is happening here. God, so to speak, was holding Malchus through this level called Zo, whatever they mean. And as soon as Zo removed, Malchus went down. It's as if, again, the example of the words, the concept and the letters, it's as if you remove the concept from the letters. You have a group of letters that they represent a concept. Okay, take out the concept, the letters lose the meaning. It's just letters. And they can become disordered, etc. So as soon as the concept removes, the letters just fall down. Kemoiken, the same thing. Not just the first man, this happened to him. Kemoiken, the same thing. Bizman beis hamikdash haya ichud zun. At the time that the temple was built, there was a unification of these two levels, whatever they mean. And afterwards there was a destruction of the temple that this sun, quote unquote, removed. And afterwards, when the sun removes, the moon, so to speak, goes down. Malchus, this level of kingship, whatever that means, goes down. And that's what it means on the verse that my brothers, the children of my mother, they are angry at me. In Ken, if this is so, that's why the Midrash compares these two ideas. They both represent exactly the same. There was a unification of two levels, and now they're separated. That's what it means. When the first man was alive in the Gan Eden, etc., these two levels were united. He ate from the fruit, they got separated. When the temple was built, these two levels were united. The temple is destroyed, these two levels are separated. Oh, so it's the same. As it's written in the writings of the Arizal, whatever, in that place, the idea, the level, spiritual level of after the sin of the first man and the destruction of the temple, actually at the same level. This is what the Arizal says. So he's bringing a proof. It's not just that I'm explaining the Midrash in a very weird way. I got this from Arizal. I got this from Kabbalah. So my explanation is just a development of something that the Arizal said. Vesham, and you can find over there, the Zo Bechurban Bais Sheni. This is a Chidush. This is actually something new. You can find in the writings of the Arizal that this refers to the second temple, the destruction of the second temple. Ve'evi al ze pasuk, and the Arizal brings the verse, exactly the same verse that the Midrash brings. They, like the Jewish people, like a man, like a regular human being that sometimes behaves nice, sometimes doesn't behave nice. No. Read it as the Midrash. Like the first man, they also transgressed the covenant, etc. So the Arizal also refers to the same Midrash. The Arizal knew this Midrash also, and he's referring to that and explaining actually just as I'm, so to speak, the Rebbe is saying, just as I'm explaining this, the Arizal explains exactly the same thing, and furthermore, talking about the second temple, not just the first temple. That's like the Chidush of the Arizal. So what do we have? We have the Rebbe explained a Midrash, brought a Midrash in the first chapter. In the second chapter, he said, look, why is the Midrash comparing these two things, the first man and the destruction of the first or second temple? Because they represent, mystically speaking, exactly the same. They represent the same. Then, of course, it's going to go further on the ideas, but at least now we have an explanation of the Midrash. We understand that that's why the Midrash is comparing these two things, not just a weird comparison based on the word Eicha, Ayeka, a little game of words. No. They mean the same thing.